A rider's seat is super important for your horse's performance. In fact, your seat or sitting bones are key in communicating with your horse. For your horse to work correctly, he needs to work over his back and remain supple. He can't do this effectively with a rider who is stiff in the hip and unable to follow his movement. A rider that is able to keep their sitting bones or seat bones connected to the saddle and weight evenly distributed makes it much easier for the horse to be able to carry and perform what is being asked of them. These simple Franklin method techniques prompt you to think about your position when riding and allow for correct contact and communication with your horse. Our pelvis is made up of 3 bones. We have 2 pelvic halves and a sacrum, and there's movement between all of these bones, dynamic movement, which we're going to embody in this class. So just sitting on a stool, sitting slightly forwards on a stool or a sturdy chair, I just want you to rock your pelvis forwards and backwards. So you're going to rock forwards onto your pubic bone and then rock backwards onto your sitting bones. Rock forwards onto your pubic bone and backwards onto your sitting bones. And can you sense that there's a little bit of movement in these bones, in these joints? As we rock forward, the sit bones widen, and then as we rock back, the sit bones narrow. The sit bones widen as we rock forward, and they narrow as we rock back. Just try that a couple more times. So rocking forward, they get wider, and then rocking back, they become a little bit narrower. Rocking forwards, they get wider. Rocking back, they become narrower. Last time, forward they get wider, and then backwards they get a little bit narrower. Can we try the same thing, but with some Franklin balls underneath your sitting bones? If you don't have Franklin balls, you can use some other massage balls. You could even use a couple of pairs of rolled up socks. So you're going to place 1 ball underneath each sitting bone. And then for a moment, just take a couple of breaths, just sit there, make sure that you feel comfortable, that you feel safe. And then we'll do the same thing here. We're going to rock forward and back, and this will slightly exaggerate this movement of the pelvis. So this dynamic movement of the pelvis is one of the body's very ingenious ways that it absorbs force. It absorbs and then regenerates force. So we rock forwards and the sit bones widen, the pelvic floor widens. We rock back and the sit bones narrow. Rock forward, the sit bones widen. Rock back, they narrow. Twice more. From here, remove the ball that's underneath your left sitting bone and just place it on the floor. So momentarily you just have only your left sitting bone touching your stool. From here you can lift it and then lower it back down. Lift it and lower it back down. So we're mobilising these joints of the pelvis. We're mobilising the pelvic floor, working the muscles of the pelvic floor in a dynamic fashion. Let's do a similar thing. We lift the sit bone up and bring it forward, lift it up and take it back. So the left sit bone comes up and forward, it comes up and back. It comes up and forward and up and back. Just try another 4 of those. And you can perhaps imagine all of this musculature that is your pelvic floor is being dynamically activated. So this model doesn't move, but you can imagine that as you're bringing the sitting bone forwards, you're stretching the pelvic floor muscles. They're working dynamically. Okay, when you've finished off your last one, remove the ball that was underneath the right sitting bone, place that on the floor, and just sit for a moment and notice, do you feel any difference in the 2 sides? Or perhaps any difference to how your pelvic floor and your seat feel compared to a few minutes ago? I feel like I've got clearer hip flexion, it feels like my lower back feels a little bit more relaxed, and I'm just much more aware of this part of my body. Let's do the other side. So we'll pick up one of the Franklin balls or your rolled up socks, place it underneath your left sitting bone, and then from here, just starting by lifting the right sit bone, dropping it down, lifting it up, dropping it down. So we're mobilising lower back, mobilising the SI joints, mobilising the pelvic floor. And then let's try lifting the sit bone up and sweeping it forward, lifting it up and sweeping it back. Lifting it up, sweeping it forward, lifting it up, sweeping it back. How does this side feel compared to the other side? Is there any difference? And if there is, you can use that as a clue from your body, so something that perhaps you could practice. If there's an imbalance in your pelvis, your body feels it, but also your horse will feel it. Try 2 more. Okay, and then when you finished off your last one, remove the ball, place it on the floor, and just sit and notice your seat. Notice your sit bones on the floor or on the stool. Notice hip flexion, notice lower back. And then I want to finish with one more. We're going to place the 2 Franklin balls back underneath your sitting bones. Or if you're using your rolled up socks, you're going to place them underneath your sitting bones. And feet are directly underneath your knees. We're just going to bounce. It's a very, very small bounce. You're just bouncing up and down on the balls. And just having a sense of stimulating all of the receptors around these bones, the sit bones, and the hamstrings, the receptors in the hamstrings, the glutes into the pelvic floor. So we're waking up the musculature. Let's do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then rest. Remove the balls, place them down and sit. And notice, how do you feel? How's posture? You may notice that your shoulders feel a little bit more dropped. It's easier to sit more upright, and you have clearer hip flexion and a wider base. These exercises would be brilliant to do daily. So remember that you can use your Franklin Method massage balls, any other massage balls, or even a pair of rolled up socks. And they would be really useful to do even before you ride, to make sure that you've improved the proprioception within your pelvis so that it's functioning to its best, that it's mobile, and that you're really communicating as well as you can with your horse.